cars. Well, that was all very well, but there was a bit of rain that night and he didn't quite make it. We had a stunt that went on the burnout track where we caught fire.
And people didn't realise it was a stunt at first.
Yeah.
And that, the shock value of that, I've never seen anything like it. It was just burst into flames and there's this man tearing around.
Yeah, but okay, Mill, what do you reckon's your most memorable thing from this Summernats? Besides Miss Nude ACT?
Well, you probably remember that better than me.
No, I don't.
But Ahmed the Mad Turk, our crazy friend Ahmed.
Keep winding this guy up. If you don't wind him up, he doesn't do anything.
Sometimes I think that the entrants are almost as entertaining as the entertainment itself.
My fast toy, wondering where to go. Cruising down to Summernats to see a low blow. Purple haze and psycho, blasting on my stereo. Me and my lady sitting in Recaro. It's mad, it's bad, it's mighty unclean. A Summernats party in the street machine. It's mad, it's bad, it's a place to be seen. A Summernats party in the street machine. So an evil 69 with a bad EH. A 1956 chick Chevy from the States. A red GDR, an old 28. Cruising around Summernats, that's a wicked 8. Osmate Charger, a Pro GMH. A suicide lady in another EH. A T-blown roadster looking like a stop. Bam, bam, thank you, man, ain't hot enough. Mad, it's mighty unclean. A Summernats party in a street machine. It's mad, it's bad, it's a place to be seen. A Summernats party with a street machine. An LD 401, now that's a holding one. A Chevy 55 that's still a thrill to drive. A Pro 34 acting like an outlaw, making it illegal for a 1924. An XY limo with a long, long chassis. Rev said I fix and make 'em nice and snazzy. If you wanna raise hell, what top said? Rocking down a Summernats, you better off dead. It's mad, it's bad, it's mighty unclean. A Summernats party with a street machine. It's mad, it's bad, it's a place to be seen. A Summernats party in the street machine.
By the ninth Summernats build, it was pretty obvious that Saturday night at the Summernats was a big deal. But we had to do that because we couldn't run the Super Cruise down Northbourne Avenue, one of the great shames of cruising history in the world. So we've got to put on all this fantastic entertainment at the Summernats, and every year we try and find all sorts of things like Lawrence Legend, who has become almost a part of the Summernats, going through walls of fire and crashing over cars and fireworks and...
Big kidding me, pick the fireworks, yes sir.
Yeah.
But the Summernats specials, there's something unique to the Summernats where people build these crazy things just simply to drive around the Summernats. These have got longer and hold more people, and they have eskies and they have beach umbrellas, and we've even had one with a swimming pool in it.
Yeah, but that's because cruising is a big part of our scene. It is the opportunity to express yourself. What about those two muscly dudes in the tea bucket?
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
But at the burnout track, I mean, that has to be the greatest area to express yourself.
That year was the year the Green Tirana that really put on a thing, absolutely flogged itself to death.
Yeah, you know, he was just a young guy giving it a go. He obviously had a pretty strong engine in it, but I was standing behind it at the time, and I can remember the steel belts coming out of the tyre, and next thing it ripped the flares off and the bits went flying through the air. It was unbelievable.
And that year was the year we introduced the Horsepower Heroes competition.
Yeah.
Another thing, Chick, of interest is, why did you choose a sword as a symbol for the Grand Champion?
Well, the Grand Champion Award really is for the person that does well in the elite judging, the People's Choice voting, that happens in the Maguire's Pavilion. Does well in the driving events, and in fact it's a combination of many points, but the sword itself symbolises that champion, like in the old days, medieval days, the warrior that took on all comers, and that's why it's a sword as a trophy.
And Fitzy won it again that year, so that's second time for Fitzy.
Yeah, and that FC's not only can he drive it, but it's a good car too, and that's why he does so well. The 10th Summernats.
Oh, yeah.
A milestone. Who would have thought in the preparations of 1987 to run the first Summernats in 1988 that had been putting on the 10th? Who would have thought?
Oh, yeah. And the good cars kept coming. The car that stuck out the most for me that year was Ed Brody's HJ Holden. And I think there again, the true appreciation of this car was probably ever only known to Ed Brody and the judges. It was just beyond comprehension. It was a brilliant car.
This one of Billy Murphin's built this Monaro in the driveway of his mum's house. You know, and it was cool. Now, one of the things that was cool about that beaut orange paint, but was the brushed aluminium effect.
Everything had the brush billet.
Yeah, not polished, but this brushed aluminium. And then the Zalukovics, peach-coloured Studebaker. Yeah, when I was a kid, not that much of a kid.
Not long ago.
No, I had a model of one of these. I thought that these ones that were about 56, 57 were ahead of their time, but it was the fins those days, you know, that was a big deal, like the 57 Chev and in later years the Cadillacs and stuff. That was a cool car, wasn't it?
Studebakers or something else.
My most memorable part of the Summernats was Miss Nude World performing in a champagne glass on the stage.
Heightened everybody's appreciation of a good drop of champagne.
Unbelievable. And I've got a poster of her in my office.
Personally signed?
Absolutely.
Personally signed in your office?
Delivered in person, and I'm pretty cool with that.
And Wayne Gardner was there that year, having a ball. Borrowed a brand new V-twin Yamaha from the dealership, took it out, did burnouts on it, and destroyed it. Brand new.
It was brand new.
Never, straight off the showroom floor. Didn't live for an hour.
Now, here's the last one. Street Machine Magazine Summernats, proudly supported by Rare Spares. It was Arby's fire when his car caught fire at the burnout track, and I knew that he was going to put on a performance, right? But then the car caught fire. He'd done a serious performance. There's no doubt about that, and I was amazed, as the crowd would have been, and then all of a sudden this thing caught fire. He's absolutely destroyed the tyres. From where I was standing, there was no tyre on the right-hand back rim. Officials were saying, enough, 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 and waving at him. And a moment later, the radiator burst, and it's got this massive shower of orangey-coloured water out of the radiator, and I stood there and thought, no one can beat that performance. The guy who does the fireworks for us, Harold Upton, he told us about this guy that has got a rocket that he straps on his back and rides a pushy, and he'd done about 80 miles an hour on a pushy in the United States. I thought, oh, that'll be cool. He's just crazy. But when he was on the track, I was a bit worried about him on the arena, on the dirt track. But when he got on the burnout track in front of everybody, he's pumping the jet up, trying to get up a bit of pressure in it, and there's kerosene pouring out of it, a bit of a flame coming out of the back. And I'm thinking, this guy's a dead set lunatic. And 12,000 people at the track were thinking exactly the same thing. Lawrence Legend, who's sort of become our resident stuntman, he, in a car, did this spiral jump. Now, he just jumped about 12 trucks on his motorbike, and then this car came up where I was standing, up above the trucks, pitching through the sky like this. It was unbelievable. And I thought, I was just standing there staggered. It was amazing.
How he's come out of some of those things alive, I'll never know. Yeah. And the quality cars, like Ed Brody's HJ Holden, was such a high quality car. I'm sure that there are still secrets in that car that we haven't even got to notice yet. That was a superb thing.
Rod Hadfield from Castlemaine Rod Shop in Victoria, an icon in the scene, built this twin-blown 429 shotgun Doctor's Coupe, an unusual car in its own right.
Well, he drew that in the back cover of his exercise book in about year 7 at school and kept that alive in his memory and eventually built the car and has only just recently sold it. I never ever thought he'd sell that car because that is a unique hot rod in the world scene.
Peter Fitzpatrick picked up the Grand Champion sword again. Man, the guy can drive that car.
Well, Chick, we come into Summernats 12 and Fitzy's still the reigning grand champion for the fourth time.
The outstanding cars at that event, you know, I've always been into tough cars. You know, like that's really the thing that grabs me more than anything else.
A couple of them sitting over here.
Yeah, but Scott Marshall's Big Block WV Ute in the Elite Awards, that was a seriously cool car. You know
Mario's car, yeah.
Yeah.
That, I reckon they would have run 8 seconds on the drag strip.
Yeah, I reckon. The 52 Chevy Ute of Stephen and Kathy Rich.
One of the prettiest ever made.
The fact that it was in the top 10, I think thoroughly deserves its position. It was a really, really nice car, just as John Portelli's 32 Tudor.
Well, the Portelli family all build terrific hot rods.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Oh, one of my favourites was that V8 convertible with the Volkswagen body.
I'd known those guys for quite a while, and talk about have a good time. And you know, when they were going home, someone flagged them down because the car was in a trailer and alerted them to the fact that there was smoke coming out of the car and it was on fire.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it got burnt out, which was a real shame. Unbelievable. The standout car at Summernats 12 really was the Tiger Gold 65 XP Falcon Coupe of the Hillier brothers.
Those boys up in New England sure know how to build really good things.
Yeah, it was the car that people spoke about the most at the 12th Summernat. The other thing that was happening about that time too, Milt, you might recall, the Harlequin colours that were showing up.
Yeah, they really hit people in the face when they came out, didn't they?
I mean, it was interesting how you could walk up and see like this sort of chameleon effect. What colour is it? Was it red or green or blue? Or, you know, it was really, really a very interesting concept. Saturday night at Summernats 12 was a damn nightmare for me, I've got to say. Now, we had, I've always wanted to get good entertainment, as you know, and I had this group of people that came to the event, and they brought with them horse-drawn chariots and archers and muscle men and princesses that needed to be saved and all sorts of stuff. Oh,
More of the Colosseum effect.
Sometimes I look at it and I think, why do I do this to myself? Remember when we had the wedding on the track?
That was spectacular.
Yeah.
The people wanted to get married on the burnout track. That was, and it all happened.
Yeah, fantastic. What was your highlight at the 12th Summernats?
Oh, well, you know, being into the burnout thing, I really think one of the most memorable burnouts of all time was Matt Abood and his 57 Chevy. Absolutely immaculate car, but that was... Matty has got his own style, as they all have, but that was one of the best burnouts by one of the nicest guys with one of the nicest cars, but that burnout was absolutely phenomenal, and he won it. He won it.
Yes, come on. Put your hands in here. Let's cheer for another popsicle. Do we want another popsicle? A double popsicle. He's got both.
Canberra's invasion of Summernats enthusiasts has hit record levels this year. Halfway through the 4-day festival, the cars and crowd are getting louder and wilder.
Street Machine magazine presents Summernats 2000 Collector's Edition Horsepower Party of the Millennium, and it was. And what do we see?
Burnout King of the World, Gary Myers. Truly deserved award.
Absolutely, and we created that award, the Burnout King of the World. Seeing Gary holding that trophy, there is a lot of pleasure in it for me. High achievers in all of the various aspects of the event. The horsepower heroes, the elite judging, the street judging, the sound off, the burnout competition, of course. We've got that gold trophy where the high achievers occur. But is it any wonder that why I created that in the first place, when you see some of the people, what they turn up with, and effort that people like Darryl Macbeth put in. And Darryl's Commodore wagon there was no such thing. It's like a sedan delivery from the United States, you know, and he created like that, the graphics, massive sound system inside it, as well as the workmanship. And of course, Darryl's contribution over the years, later, you know, the FJs that he owned in the earlier years, and now the wagon, and then the Magna that he created, truly pieces of automotive art.
And Al Bundy Lucas, with that Monaro, there was more to that than met the eye.
Yeah,
And wherever he went, he was definitely not unnoticed.
No, that's right. Well, that's for sure. But I mean, a purple HQ Monaro with a blown big block in it, and all the go fast goodies. But what was really cool in that car, and suicide doors, of course. But what was cool about it was the little oval pieces that he created, like around the windscreen wiper pivots and where the exhaust exited, and some of the sculpture piece inside. Fantastic. How about Howard Astl's XA Falcon Coupe? What was special this year with the paint job was that a tragic accident happened to a really good friend of his, which inspired him to do the car this way.
Yeah, well, he had virtually finished with the show scene with this car, but in memory of his good mate and companion that had put a lot of work into the car in the past years, they did it one more time. And I think a very fitting memorial to a good mate.
Remember the car I bought from the States, Legacy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was just phenomenal in its detail. It was probably one of the most outstanding show cars in the world.
Carol and Joe Cusimano, and they've been good friends of ours for years, haven't they?
And they really know their stuff.
Yeah.
Carol's such a cutie, and Joe is known as GM Joe over there, but he builds really superb, very finely detailed street machines and custom cars.
Yeah, he does. And so people in Australia would never have ever seen anything like that, and that's why we had it here. The images are what really bring the event to life on paper, and over the years, the people, the photographers of Street Machine and the editors, of course, are very much a part of this whole Street Machine Summernats family.
They must take millions of pictures at Summernats because they have a big team.
Well, that's how they can put such a sensational collector's edition together.
G'day, I'm Bronson. I work on the Yokohama Brood Horsepower video, and I'm available for retreads.
The 14th Summernats posed a really big problem, Milt, in 2001. There were just so many cars, so many things to see, and not enough time to do it in. One of the really cool things always is that winning an award at the Summernats is such a sense of achievement for these people. I mean, I got the High Achievers Awards, I know, but to be at the Summernats, just to be seen, just to be cruising around, to win a trophy, to get your moment of glory, unbelievable. Somebody that's, really taken it all the way. What do you reckon?
Mark Yardy on fire. If you can't be good, be spectacular. This guy never fails to be noticed.
I know, yeah. I mean, he's always been a great entrant. The car is tough, always there, but unbelievable how the damn thing keeps on catching fire.
Well, he's always under your nose like Hitler's moustache.
Debbie and Peter Gray with this black Camaro.
Put their everything into it. A really nice couple, dedicated to their car, and both do fantastic burnouts in the same car in the same day. So it's a credit to their build, and in my opinion, probably the best burnout ever performed in the history of burnouts was done by Debbie Gray.
Isn't that amazing? And you know what? Peter even admits that.
Yep.
The burnout has been the most outstanding part of the Summernats for a long time to the general public's eyes. Can't understand what the hell it's all about, but it's a bit like, I don't know, it's such a spectacular part of it. But what's been improving in its profile is the Horsepower Heroes.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the sponsors, such as Dyno Dynamics, which have in a way built their business on the profile that came out of the Summernats, and we couldn't do without a company like Dyno Dynamics to produce a dyno that allows these cars to deliver the horsepower.
They deliver the credibility.
Yeah. I love unusual cars coming to the Summernats, anything different. And here's this car, built in Queensland, I believe.
Yes.
Called a Gia Catalog. It had a 308, injected 308 Holden engine, something like that. Anyway, Todd Wilkes, very, very capable guy, delivered 772 horsepower at the back wheels. unheard of till that time.
Absolutely far in advance of anything else.
And a streetcar. And people went away talking, wow, did you see that car in the dyno cell? Blah, rave, and all that sort of thing. The saddest part of all, though, is not long after that, he lost his life at Eastern Creek in an unbelievably tragic accident. But the one thing that I can say is that we don't want to see anybody hurt or anything like that, but for some of us to go doing what we love, it's not a bad way to go. Taking it to the limit is what a lot of people are on about, that's for sure. And our mate Cundy cannot help himself, you know, with that damn convertible of his.
They just got longer and crazier and full of more loonies.
Yeah, absolutely, more umbrellas.
Yeah.
And cruising around and around and around. And which is what a lot of people come to the Summernats for, just to go around the block as many times as they can, day and night. In fact, if we don't put them to bed about midnight, they'd go 24 hours a day.
Well, some of them used to try.
Brute horsepower 15 mil. Summernats 2002, blowers, babes and burnouts.
As always.
Fantastic. But you know, that was the year when big changes had to happen and we put on serious grog restrictions. People couldn't bring it in the gate anymore.
We didn't miss the yobbos.
No, absolutely not. Nothing changed the determination of people to come to the event and have a good time and bring good cars.
Well, there's that determination to do something different, create something, and to try and win one of those elusive awards.
Absolutely. And we talked about Mark Jones some time ago, the 57 Chevy that he had, but this orange 57 Chevy was a knockout that he brought to the event. But then again, so was this one. You know, what about the DeSoto?
Oh, I love that DeSoto.
Yeah. The thing of Glenn Jenkins, you know, really rare car too, apparently.
And the super tub job, and it was very streetable.
Yeah, and you know another car that really grabbed me? I thought this little yellow Mini with a small block in it.
Mad
and
as.
tunnel ram on it and flames and all that sort of thing. Dare to be different, I say. Once again, to give the event something special, something different, we had an engine building team that came from Rockingham High School in Western Australia, and they in fact were able to set a world record, as I understand. You know, that was really different. What about your mate from Perth, Milt?
Roscoe McGlashan, one of our favourite crazies.
Yeah, but in that jet car, and I think he had set, I know Australian, and I think he was aiming for world records on Lake Gardner, but to be able to drive a jet car around the arena on Saturday night, I thought was pretty spectacular, and I reckon a lot of people went home talking about that year.
And didn't weenie roast any small children,
No, which is handy. Remember that I did something, a bit of a surprise on Sunday at the burnout track?
It was a hell of a surprise to me because you never told anybody.
No, why should I? Life is full of surprises, Milt, and the fact that I was able to get Lawrence to jump over my car while I was doing a burnout, I thought that was not a bad thing to do.
It was pretty high up in the sky when he did it too.
Yeah. Fitzy knocks off grand champion 5 times.
Mate, he is just that good.
And standing there with Miss Summernats congratulating him, I wouldn't have minded being Fitzy that day.
He didn't struggle.
No, neither would I, mate. Every now and again, something really special comes out of the blue.
Like Benny Gatt's Lincoln Zephyr.
Yeah,
That thing really jumped up and grabbed me. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know it was coming, and it's a world-class custom car.
And really unusual. Most people had never seen anything the like of it. Drago Ostrich with his Gemini wagon, really unusual little car to be featuring in the Elite Awards. Fantastic, and more to come from Drago.
And on the other end of the scale, Laurie Grimer's 55, 56 Chevy. I don't know which one it really is, because it depends which end you start from. It hit him in the eye.
Yeah, well, the way he built it, it was 56 at the back and 55 at the front. And when the boys called me to go over and have a look at that, they said, "You've got to go and have a look at that 55 Chev." And I came from the rear and it's a 56, and I'm thinking, where is it? I don't know which one you're talking about. This Austin A30.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Peter Jackson. And what was really cool was that it had a rotary in it, which was really appropriate for that sort of car.
And Les Laurie came up with another sensational hot rod to add to the hot rodders scene with his 32 Ford Victoria. And of course then there was Rod Hatfield with his 55 Chevy with the Merlin, Rolls-Royce Merlin fighter plane engine in it. That's something else.
And really that car in itself was just a car far beyond most people's comprehension, to be quite honest. That was a labour of love for Rod. And we should be careful not to go too far on this, because we could talk about it all day. We can talk about most things all day.
You're right about that.
But that was a sensational car. What was it, like 3,000 horsepower? And he built it to look like an aeroplane, the Mustang, which was one of his favourite aeroplanes.
World's most powerful street registered car.
Absolutely, and it's in the Guinness Book of Records as a result of that. But while we're with hot rods, the feature